Reports indicate that Nigeria has extended the closure of its borders to Benin and other West African countries to the end of January 2020, despite several criticisms of the policy heaped on Nigerian authorities. The country says it is preventing smuggling of food, especially rice. Now, over the weekend, JoyNews pitched camp at the Nigerian-Benin border as Ghana counts down to the implementation of a special arrangement to allow free passage to affected Ghanaians who are currently stranded at the border since August. JoyNews' head of security desk, Gifty Andoapia, interacts with both Ghanaians and Nigerians who are bearing the brunt of this policy and reports the border is not likely to open soon.
We arrived in the Beninois capital of Cotonou on Thursday. Once we got to the border, it appeared brisk business was ongoing. About 15 people approached us, volunteering to take us across the border with or without documents or goods. An action prohibited by the Nigerian government. In a team of 4, we agreed to be taken into Nigeria by the smugglers to understand what happens on the unapproved routes. It was a bumpy road full of little ponds created by a few days of rain. On the back of a total stranger, a people smuggler and a rickety motorbike, we get on the way. Halfway through the journey in an area we now know to be a no-man's land, a dozen young men begin to run after our motorbike, shouting in a language I could not understand. Soon, we were stopped and surrounded, and what looks like an exchange ensued. I got to know the men who were running after us were negotiating our release to them because that part of the area is their territory. They wanted for us to be handed over to them and for us to pay additional money for them to take us into Nigeria. At this point, I start to imagine all that could go wrong on this journey and request to be taken back together with my team to the main border. That took a while and an explanation that I do not have enough money and needed to get back to the border to bring the rest of the money they are requesting.
It's only 1,000 I have here. Only 1,000 I have. Because I don't have enough money here, so let's go.
After a long back and forth, we were brought back to the main border. At this time, it was too late to go through the main border to Nigeria as the border closes at 6 p.m. The next day, we'll go through the processes to experience what happens on the approved route. First, we go through about 6 different posts where our passports are submitted and examined. Between the passport check area and the exit gate, we find on our extreme right tens of trucks parked with drivers idling. This is a restricted area, but we manage to interact with the stranded drivers, most of whom are Ghanaians. The drivers complain of theft of their goods, especially for those carrying food and beverages. They also say fuel from their vehicles are siphoned by people in the area.
They keep stealing diesel from the trucks. We even told the minister. The thieves are really worrying us. We plead with the government to help us. It's difficult to even find food daily. We are really suffering and we are being robbed. I'm a conductor and my master had left. Isn't even clean water for us to drink. Even here since 8th August. Our goods are expiring and the thieves are stealing from us. Even the clean water is hard to come by. It affects our skin when we bath. Look at our sleeping place. The level of safety is really high. For the trucks with drinks and liquor, they really steal from them. If you are careless, you run into so much debt unless God bails you out. Why? Ghana government should be careful. We have families. They should do something.
Now, staying with this issue, ranking member on Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, believes news that President Buhari is extending the Nigeria-Benin land border closure to January 31, 2020 is an indication that the matters in issue are indeed moving from bad to worse. He joins us on the line with more. Mr. Ablakwa, thanks for your time. You believe we have gotten to the point where the chairman of ECOWAS must act. What are you expecting?
Yeah, thank you very much, Daniel. Good morning to you and good morning to viewers. Clearly, the approach which member states of ECOWAS have used so far, that is the affected countries negotiating separately, individually with Nigeria. So you've seen Ghana send delegations to Nigeria, Niger and Cameroon, who are also affected, are also trying to reach their own separate deals. It's clearly not working. The extension that President Buhari of Nigeria has just announced confirms that the separatist approach would not work. And that is why I am appealing for an urgent ECOWAS heads of state meeting. The chairman of ECOWAS, the Niger President, President Mahamadou Issoufou, must convene an emergency heads of state meeting. The ECOWAS charter, he has the authority to convene that emergency meeting. And I believe that he will get the support of all member states, because this is at the heart of everything that ECOWAS stands for. The entire integration protocols have been thrown off gear. And the Africa Continental Free Trade Area now even is at risk because of this unilateral conduct by Nigeria. And so we think that this is the time for the sub-regional bodies to show leadership. The individual member states negotiating with Nigeria approach is not working, will not work, and it is not sustainable. That should not be the way forward.
Now, Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa, this morning I spoke to Dr. Joseph for being president of GUTA on the Super Morning Show. He says that this issue and the way it has degenerated shows that ECOWAS is dead and cannot in any way help them. What do you make of this statement?
You see, it is particularly because of the lack of dynamic leadership at the level of the ECOWAS chairmanship. That is why concerns like the one you have just relayed will gain current. And you cannot discount that. Clearly, ECOWAS, look, since this matter happened, since August 19, ECOWAS has been quiet. And the irony is that the ECOWAS chairman is himself affected. His country is affected. You know, because this is not only the Nigeria-Benin border, Nigeria, Niger, Nigeria, Cameroon are all affected. And yet, the ECOWAS chairman is just dead silent. So you cannot blame citizens who are beginning to look for solution elsewhere, trying to, call for hardline stance to be taken by individual member countries. When you do that, the 15-member ECOWAS body will disintegrate, and ECOWAS will just become moribund. So this is the time, now than ever, for the ECOWAS leadership and our heads of state. President Akufo-Addo should not be left out. Instead of picking so yes, I know you try to put your country's interest first, but that clearly will not work. This is a matter that requires the entire region to rise up and take action. So they should begin talking to themselves at the presidential level and convene a meeting and deal with this matter. At least when it is put to vote, you will have, though, in terms of the might of Nigeria, population, GDP, and all of that, Nigeria towering above, or when you put it to vote, it could be 15 against 1. And at least ECOWAS can be seen to be working. Because if not, the alternative is really scary, where member states begin to carry out retaliatory action, where citizens decide to, take it out on Nigeria. We all don't want that. We are all urging calm, we are urging restraint, but leadership must help the process by showing dynamism, by taking the bull by the horn and offering hope. At this point, the silence and the individualistic approach behind closed doors, trying to see if I can claim a deal for my singular country, that unilateral selfish approach will not help.
Now, Mr. Ablakwa, you mentioned yourself that Nigeria towers above the rest of its West African neighbors. It's more than 60% of ECOWAS's GDP. What could the other nations have as a bargaining chip?
There are many things that the other nations can bring to the table. Remember that the other countries are all now hosting Nigerian businesses. Look at the number of Nigerian businesses in Ghana, for example. The number of Nigerian business interests, like banks, other financial institutions, spread all over. Nigeria will be concerned about that because if things degenerate into retaliation and closing down business, we have seen it before. It can affect. And remember also that if the whole Africa Union also takes interest, and I'm surprised that Africa Union is silent, is this regional bloc that comes together to give the Africa Union strength. Africa Union wants the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement to take off fully by July this year. This is a major dampener, and the African Union itself should not be silent. Now, when the African Union intervenes, we are talking about 1.3 billion people. Nigeria will just have to, begin to reconsider with this 200 million population. And if the whole of Africa is moving without Nigeria, 1.1 billion versus 200 billion, Nigeria will begin to see that, look, yes, we are powerful and all of that, but we have our, limitations. And we will need, and you saw that when it came to the ratification of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Initially, Nigeria picked back. They did not really want to come along. But when everybody, especially the other mighty countries, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, joined in, they had no choice but to also tag along. So there can be hope if the president, leaders on the continent, begin to take this matter and confront Nigeria, have a very dispassionate, honest discussion about our pan-African integration agenda. You will see that Nigeria will have no choice but to back and take form.
It's very interesting, the insights that you bring to this issue, Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa. But we've heard our Deputy Minister of Trade, Carlos Ahenkra, say that Nigeria is 6 times Ghana's economy. And as a result, it's very difficult for Ghana to enter an open trade war with Nigeria. Given this stated position, I mean, I heard this repeated on the BBC. Given this stated position, are we shooting ourselves in the foot?
You see, I get disappointed when our leaders, our ministers of state, you are going for negotiation and you are touting how weak you are, how helpless your position is. I mean, it's a wrong position to take. I disagree with that position. That is why I'm saying that you form a coalition. We have seen EU member countries do that. I mean, the inner six of the EU, how did they push the EU agenda? France, Italy, Germany, and the others. When you form a strong coalition, if Ghana is able to get the entire African Union to call Nigeria to order, they will have no choice. Even if you get all the other, 14 other, ECOWAS countries, Nigeria will be, because look, who tells you that Nigeria doesn't have, genuine concern about its nationals in Ghana, its businesses, and all of that? I am not calling for a trade war. I'm saying that let's have a political solution. Let's have a diplomatic dialogue. Let's put all the cards on the table and let Nigeria understand that even the issues it is concerned about, smuggling of weapons, illegal trade and all of these are cross-border issues. We are better off addressing them from the multilateral perspective. We are better off. When Ghana helps you, Benin, Togo, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, everybody helps you. We are all on the same page. We share intelligence. We are better off than you thinking you can go solo. So I think that the whole mindset and our practical approach has been problematic, and we need to reset.
Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, thank you very much for joining us. He is Member of Parliament for North Tongue. He's also the ranking member for the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. Now, the National Welfare Officer of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, Ablakwa, is calling on the Trade and Industry Ministry and government to enforce the GIPC law that ensures foreigners do not engage in retail trade in Ghana. Roland Walker has more.
It's not only at the semi-border where Nigeria has closed its borders in relation with its neighbors. We're talking not only Benin but also Togo and then the Republic of Ghana and the other countries in the sub-region that traders or those who involve themselves in trade and commerce have difficulties. Look, here in Ghana, the Ghana Union of Traders Association have been advocating for the government authorities to make sure that they enforce the GIPC law. Even before the closure of the border by the Nigerian authorities, the Ghana Union of Traders Association had been raising all these concerns. And it looks like it's now come to a head with the Nigerian authorities saying the border closure could be extended to January 2020. Well, we'll be speaking to the welfare officer, that's the National Welfare Officer of GUTA, and Ben Yabua is here with me. And Mr. Yabua, for example, I have a lot of the products now being marketed, retailed by foreigners. They bring in the goods, there's no middleman, and it looks like you think that you as the indigents or the local traders have been crowded out. Is that the case?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, on with this, we had foreigners coming in, and what they do was just to offload whatever they bring to the local trader, and therefore then the local trader just takes it up from them and sells. It's okay even with those coming from ECOWAS because of the ECOWAS treaty, they have a leeway of having about 30 to 90 days, let's say so that they offload their goods to the Ghanaian for him to sell, take their money and go back. But we've seen throughout the years that now they've decided to station in Ghana and open shops or stores or kiosks and then bring the goods and sell themselves. They pass through a lot of unapproved areas within our porous borders and then they sit here and sell. Luckily for Ghana, we have a law promulgated by the Parliament, the GIPC Act, I'm sure you know about it, which says categorically what a foreigner should do when he or she comes into the country. It's been flouted all these years. GUTA has been agitating for so many years without any real results, and is ongoing as we speak today.
Now, I know that you're saying the law should be enforced as it is. Now, within all these agitations that GUTA has been having, now we've had the Nigerian authorities also closing their borders. How has that also, well, perhaps coincidentally fed into all the protests and the concerns you've been raising all this while?
Coincidentally, it's a good omen. Good omen in a sense that it's teaching us some lessons which the Ghanaian authority should learn from, because we've been listening to the Nigerian counterparts and they are saying, look, it's always Nigeria first. To them, they have been putting in measures that is helping the Nigerian trader, has been helping the Nigeria manufacturer into making a lot of money. And therefore to them, despite any protocols, it's Nigeria first. So our authorities should learn from them. And it's Ghana first. Because even with ours, luckily, with ours, our law, the GIPC Act, does not infringe in any way on the ECOWAS protocol. Theirs is even infringing on the ECOWAS protocol. But they say, look, they don't really care. It's Nigeria first. What we are telling them is that, look, please, just give us a leeway, an open corridor for our people who are stuck up at the border to take their goods in. If after that you decide to extend the closure, it's up to you. But Ghanaian, the authorities should know that if it's Nigeria first, it's Ghana first. We are partners. We should see each other as so, not one being bigger. I've said that the Nigerian economy might be a bigger one, but not necessarily a successful one. And therefore, if we don't see ourselves as partners, and therefore want them to be a bully, it becomes a problem. And we shouldn't be kowtowing to them all the time, but also tell them that, look, if this suits you, we'll do something that suits Ghana. Ghana first, that should be the crown call.